some peace and penitence. I'm free. Ooh. I'ma say bless you. Bless you. Anyway. I'ma say bless you. Bless you. Say bless you. Yes, I pray. Bless you. Say bless you.
gang. That was Slave to Servant. And welcome to the Missouri Freedom Initiative. That was Slave to Servant. And welcome to the Missouri Freedom Initiative. That was Slave to Servant. Clearly I have audio problems. Hang on one second. And welcome to the Missouri Freedom Initiative. That was Slave to Servant. Clearly I have audio problems. Hang on one second. And welcome to the Missouri Freedom Initiative. That was Slave to Servant. Clearly I have audio problems. Hang on one second. And welcome to the... There we go. Hopefully that clears up our problems there. That was actually Slave to Servant. I'm sorry about that, gang. I'm going to go ahead and unmute everybody. That was Slave to Servant. And, gosh darn it, did you guys see that debt clock? For those of you who listen on the radio, let me get that back up and running again here so we can actually get a full accounting of the debt. $34,690 billion. So we're getting up there. So apparently Speaker Mike Johnson's mama needed a new pair of shoes or something. And the debt just keeps going up, gang. Just keeps going up. But no one's worried about it. No one's worried about it. So apparently you shouldn't be worried about it either. We could bring up other aspects of the debt, and we should, by the way. Let's take a look at the U.S. federal budget deficit. Actual deficit is literally spending money we don't have, and that's about $2 trillion a year. And it's going to get bigger. It's going to get a lot bigger because they're going into severe deficit spending. Let's look at U.S. total debt of $99,865 billion. Let's see, interest paid, $4,484 billion. And this is unfunded debt and interest. Student loan debt, $1.7 trillion. Thank goodness for Biden paying off everyone's student loans. Otherwise, we'd be at the the $2.6 trillion mark. So that money just gets transferred onto the national debt. It goes off the student's debt and it goes on the taxpayer's debt, just like it would in a socialist country. Total debt per person. Our total personal debt, $25,561 billion. So a lot of that's credit cards, gang. You know, so we got problems here in this country here. I know no one wants to really talk about it, but it is what it is, isn't it? It's a debt problem, and it's a horrible debt problem. So the solution for that is quite obviously to actually take gold and silver seriously in the States, and we'll talk a little bit about that tonight. But first of all, I want to say hello to the gang before I take a look at our socials real quick here. So we got Gretchen Garrity with us, and she is the writer of the Right to Win Ozarks blog, a very popular blog online. If you look in the description section, you can see that. We've got Liberty Revolutionary with us, also known as Caleb. We've got Voodoo Queen with us. We've got Shane with us. And we also have Missouri Liberty Report. Hey, we have John Williams with us. Awesome. So, yeah, it's been an interesting 3 weeks, gang. It's been a long time since we had a live stream. A lot of stuff has been going on, but most of that's been covered in emails that went out, but we'll cover other things tonight as well. And let me see if I can find, let's see. Okay, here we go. Now going on to the socials. B. Hoffner checking in. Hello there, B. Hoffner from Perryville. I met B. Hoffner in real life, I think, back in February. Skittle May is saying hello. Hey, Skittle May. We have C.L. Moody from St. Louis and Jill King. And this is all checking in on Rumble. We'll check on YouTube. We have Gary Ride checking in, Dennis Payne, and hello to Gary Ride. Haven't talked to you in a while, buddy. Dennis Payne, Sam I Am. Awesome to see you again, buddy. Wilderness Gal, we have Maya with us. And let's see, and that's it here so far. And on Odyssey, so far, no one has chimed in, and that's okay. It's our least viewed channel. We still keep it there. Now let's check on Twitter and see if anyone has chimed in there yet. Nope, no one's chimed in on Twitter. Okay. All right, so I just want to say hello to everyone and welcome everyone back to the Missouri Freedom Initiative after what seemed like a hiatus for those who watch us on, basically social media. It wasn't a hiatus at all, and gosh darn it, I have this fly that's bugging me. How do you know that Pat Holland lives out in the country next to a cow pasture? It's pretty obvious when I'm on camera. So we're constantly killing flies here. It's a fly genocide at my house. We have plenty of fly swatters, but unfortunately, this little booger has escaped dispatch for the last 3 hours. And I'm not going to bother with it right now, although it'd probably make for really good television, me, trying to kill this guy. And
I
every
was going
time,
to say, I'm glad I'm not him.
yeah, I know. Honest to God, this is really terrible because as soon as I bring out the fly swatter, he just like completely disappears. It's like he goes into a different dimension, and he can see what I'm doing. And as soon as the fly swatter goes away, then he comes back a few minutes later. It's terrible. I'm sure that most of us have experienced this before, and so maybe we should discuss whether or not flies, particularly flies in southwest Missouri, are trans-dimensional beings. That's a joke, by the way. But
Well, they're like some politicians.
yeah, it's kind of like certain types of politicians, for sure. As soon as you you bring out the good legislation, they disappear and they don't vote. So yeah, I take your point, Sam. That's actually a really good point, and worthy of its own live stream at some point in time. But regardless of that, I'd like to actually start out. There's a lot of things that we could talk about tonight. I know there's a lot of stuff going on the federal side of things, and you guys know I don't really pay attention to that kind of stuff. And it's not because it's a bad idea for me to look at that stuff, and I'm so much concentrating on Missouri stuff that I have to make time for that stuff. But literally, it just doesn't matter. All that drama, all that intrigue, all that stuff going on in D.C. really just doesn't matter. And I know that's offensive to people who really do like to follow federal politics. But the fact of the matter is, we could go through this, and we should probably make a standalone video explaining exactly why your state politics matters more to you and has this direct impact on your life as opposed to the indirect, lesser impact from federal politics. And the fact of the matter is, while everyone's concentrating on federal politics, bad things are happening in your state legislatively and no one's paying attention. If no one's paying attention, you don't have any pushback to your state politicians, and therefore they continue to do it. This is how the WEF infiltrates. Yes, they get through on the federal level as well. That's the big stuff you hear about, like the Green New Deal or New Green Deal. Please don't correct me on that because I just don't care about the New Green Deal. But the fact of the matter is that's one way they get in. But they get in by taking over water, and resources like minerals in your state. And so that's one of the things that we've been fighting this year in Missouri is the WEF. And by the way, it's not directly the WEF. Most of it goes back to John Deal, who is a former Speaker of the House, who happens to be partnered. Many of his corporations partnered with the WEF directly. And so John Deal, who is a former Speaker of the House in Missouri, is a very, very wealthy businessman with interests that tie him directly to the WEF. So it's through partnerships, corporations, PACs, and trade deals that the WEF gets into your state legislatively. And that's what everyone needs to be watching out for. But we'll get back to silver and gold here in just a second. So I'll take a breath here real quick. Does anyone have any comments or anything they want to bring up before we really start digging in? We're out of our groove, gang. It's been 3 weeks. It's like, how do we do live streams again? Shoot, I got confused with my own equipment. It's been such a long time.
It doesn't help. I'm getting pummeled with a thunderstorm right now. There's a tornado warning just southeast of me, or southwest.
Mackerel.
So
yeah, we take those seriously here.
That cell's kind of coming up my way, so I'm keeping an eye on the other screen.
Okay, gotcha. Well, it'd make for good television if, basically your whole set starts to swing from right to left, to and fro. And
I'm in an RV right now, so.
Yep, I understand.
No, I'll be all right, though.
Gotcha. And John, long time no see, buddy. You've been doing okay? If you don't have audio going on, that's okay, too, but I just want to say how pleased I am you're here with us tonight. It's a real honor to have you with us, man. But silver and gold. Where are we at in silver and gold? We got 3 weeks left. We don't have any bills that have moved or jumped from one house to the other yet. Is it even still possible to get silver and gold done? Well, let's talk about why we're in the position we're in right now. The answer, by the way, the short answer is yes, it is possible to get silver and gold done in 2 different ways. So, of course, we have Representative Michael O'Donnell that sat on HB 1955 for 11 weeks in his committee. There is no reason to do that other than to literally hold it up for leverage or to kill it. That is exactly what Representative O'Donnell was doing. We'll have to look in to see if he's being primaried this year, because apparently that was his intention, was to either slow it up to the point where it could be used as leverage or to just directly kill it. Period. End of story. I hate to say that, gang, but you know what, though? I've learned that I have the capacity to call a spade at this point in time, and unfortunately, Representative O'Donnell literally kept and held on to silver and gold for 11 weeks in his committee. 11 weeks. He's trying to kill the bill. So obviously, a banker is having personal problems with this bill. It is not about what the people of Missouri want. It's not about whether or not it's constitutional or not. It's what his interests are. Him, one man out of 6 million people in the state of Missouri. Well, this is all spilt milk under the bridge. There's nothing we can do about that now. But what I will tell you that's exciting is Senator Eigel's version of the bill, that would be SB 735, is most likely, like 96% chance, it will be heard on Monday, 2 days from now, on the Senate floor. And if that's the case, we'll have a vote, because they've already done the perfection part of the bill. So that means they'll have a vote, and if it is successfully voted out of the Senate, it immediately goes into the House. We have first and second read. By the way, it looks like it'll be going into emerging issues, which is, of course, Representative Hardwick's committee. So Representative Hardwick has no interest in killing the bill, so he will get it in and out as quickly as possible, as opposed to O'Donnell. We give O'Donnell another bill, he'll hold on to it until the last day of session and then pass it, you know, because that's kind of the treatment we've gotten from him so far. So, guys, we still have avenues to win, but it is harder when you get towards the end of the year. What that means is we need to work harder as well, all of us, to make sure that gold and silver does get across the finish line in some form or fashion. Now, let's talk about avenue number 2. We just talked about avenue number 1. HB 1955, by the way, is dead. So let me reiterate, because we haven't talked about this since the vote on 727. Indeed, we haven't talked about 727 yet, and we really should. We should probably give that a little bit of time tonight. But Bill Hardwick, along with many people in the House of Representatives the representatives in the state of Missouri in the General Assembly, chose to go with their constituents and vote no on the education bill. But that came at a price. Bill Hardwick, all of his legislation is dead. Someone in leadership told him, all of your legislation is now dead because you didn't vote the way leadership asked you to. Now, he's smart, man. He didn't sit there and say, well, I voted with my constituents. You can't do this to me. He didn't say that. But, that's probably what he was thinking. Leadership doesn't vote with their constituents. They vote with corporations. They do what corporations ask them to do. This is why we have so much silly legislation in the state of Missouri that are on greased skids. Greased skids. They slide through the system. And if they can't get through the system because they've been caught by the grassroots, guess what's happening? They amend them the second to the last day of the session. They just amend that bill to another popular bill. This is why silver and gold is such an interesting bill for the state of Missouri. It's very, very popular with the people. There's 2 avenues. By the way, I'll get back to our second avenue for success with the bill in a second here. But there's 2 schools of thought when you have a very popular bill, a populist bill, if you will, that is not offensive, does not cost the state any money, wouldn't hurt the state to do it, and is a big win for the people. There's 2 schools of thought when it comes to a legislator. The first school of thought is your Hardwicks and your Christensens and your Joneses. And that school of thought is, my constituents want this. I think this is a good idea. It completely conforms to the Missouri Constitution and the U.S. Constitution. Therefore, I'm going to vote yes. That's one school of thought. Let me tell you what the other school of thought is. And that's someone who is not representing the people, by the way. We're going into dark territory now. The other school of thought is really simple. It's this. Here is a bill that's very popular with the people. How can I leverage this bill to get my crap legislation through? that people don't want. They want this one real bad. How can I work with leadership to make sure that my bill gets through before this popular bill gets through? And by the way, that's what leadership thinks too. That's exactly what happened last year. Do you guys remember the leverage? Silver and gold against sports betting. And there were several senators that did not want that sports betting to go through. It was a tax increase in Missouri. Why would Republicans vote for a tax increase, especially when our taxes are already so dang high? Well, I guess we could ask them as individuals why they would, sports betting. I understand a lot of people want it. I get it. But it's a tax increase. And the Republican platform says cut taxes, not increase taxes. So this is where we find ourselves, between those two schools of thought, between those two modes of being within a governing body. Do it for the people because it's a good bill, it's constitutional, everyone wants it, and it helps all 6 million souls in the state of Missouri. There's that one school of thought. Second school of thought is, good, a popular bill. I'm going to leverage it so I can get my crap legislation that gets the WEF into the state of Missouri against the populist bill. That's the evil, the evil way of doing it. And by the way, I threw WEF in there for dramatic effect. They'll try and get all kinds of stuff in there, not just WEF stuff. Trust me. So
UNESCO.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so let's go to our Second Avenue 46S, SB 835. This was a banker bill, and it's Sandy Crawford's, and Senator Eigel amended 835 with 735. But, of course, that went through O'Donnell's committee, and he molested that bill the same way he did 1955. Took out almost everything out of the bill, left legal tender, elimination of capital gains taxes, and put everything else into a task force that doesn't have to report their findings for 3 years. That's how O'Donnell treated silver and gold, a populist bill. That's why I was kind of curious if anyone's primarying him. But at any rate, I thought I would let you know those are our two avenues. And right now, the first and foremost is 735 because we have not a hearing, but a vote coming up in the Senate on Monday. So if you guys get my email newsletter, I didn't have a lot of time to get one prepared. I'll write something bigger tomorrow because there's other issues we need to talk about. Apart from silver and gold, there's other bills that we need to support and other bills, that we really need to kill. And just some general updates on a few things that's going on in Jeff City. So it's calling senators, and it's specific. It's targeting specific senators. Like, for instance, would I be calling Mike Moon, my senator, and asking him to support silver and gold at this point? There's no point. He is extremely supportive of silver and gold. He's a yes vote. So basically our best efforts would be literally towards those who voted no or chose not to vote when it was being perfected on the floor. This is the purpose of the email. If you do not get our email, never fear, because it's on the front page of our website. That's how important this call to action is. We are trying to get this done in the state of Missouri right now. They're trying to use it as leverage against Bill Eigel, I'm sure, and against getting their bad legislation done. Because this bill has received more support up at the Capitol than any other bill for its passage. Now, we could probably argue that other bills have had more activity. For instance, the only one I can think of right now is 727. But that was to shut it down. And we can talk about that more tonight. In fact, we should talk about that more tonight. But because we're being accused, along with the grassroots, of taking Democrat dark money by the corporatists and the rhinos in the Republican Party for the reason why we went up to Jeff City and called and emailed and asked them to vote no. So they have to have a reason for that. And what they're saying is the Missouri conservative grassroots are taking liberal dark money. So that's what they're saying. Hey, it's Catherine. Hey there.
I'm going to apologize now. I'm on my second cigar and fourth whiskey, so I'm about 3 sheets. It's 3 sheets to the wind.
Okay, gotcha.
Who knows what's going to come out of my mouth?
Did you bring some to share at all? Any virtual wine or virtual cigars? Look at that.
Here you go.
Look at you.
Sorry, and I've got hiccups, so I'm going to mute my microphone. It's been a day. Let me just tell you what. It's been a day.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
God bless you.
So we'll
Tell
get
ya.
to SB 727 shortly, and we'll talk about how we're all spending our Democrat dark money. I myself bought a yacht. I have a creek in the back of my yard, and so at any rate, I figured, well, heck, instead of actually going in with my hands and getting crawfish out of the creek, why not put like a fishing boat, out there and traps and stuff. The only problem is my creek is only 2 feet deep and maybe about 4 feet wide. So
Is it even 2 feet deep?
I'm sorry.
Is it even 2 feet deep?
No, it's not even 2 feet deep. That was a gross exaggeration. But after the rain, it did get to 2 feet deep. So normally,
Okay, 'cause
it's bone dry.
I've been down there where it's bone dry. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. So the crawfish are, just not there most of the time. But, when you come into hundreds of thousands of dollars of Democrat dark money to actually shut down a crap bill like 727, you start wondering what you can spend it on. And, some people call that walking around money or whatever. And so, and of course, we're joking, of course. I hope Scott Vaughn watches this because he's the one who started the rumor that the Missouri conservative grassroots were controlled by Democrats and taking liberal dark money. So I'd like to start a few.
How would I
rumors about
guess
him
that he'd be
tonight,
the
by way.
type?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
How would it be that I would guess that he would be the type to come up with such a thing? Eh?
Yeah, that's right.
That's this accusation he puts on everybody.
Well, it's
like,
Dean Plocker,
seriously.
and Scott Vaughn. I meant, the frat boys up at the Capitol. So,
Oh yeah.
Well, Scott Vaughn is projecting because he's the king of dark money.
Yes, he is.
Yes,
Good point.
Amen.
Yep.
Very
He's
much
not
so.
only the king, he's also the queen of dark money, in my opinion. He covers both of them. So it's a somewhat androgynous situation, I think, for Scott. No, I'm
Yes.
kidding, Scott. I said I was going to start a rumor about you. So, so maybe that's the one I'll start. Just like you started about the Missouri grassroots that are working their tails off to keep, Missouri, communist free. And you keep giving a lot of time to the rhinos and the corporatists. We call them squishies, by the way, Scott. Let me tell you why. Because the corporatist Republicans are very soft and malleable and can be easily shaped and formed into whatever their corporate paymasters want them to be. So that's why we call them squishies. And but at any rate, Scott Vaughn, really, he pitches really, really hardball questions when he has Senator Eigel on or Denny Hoskins, but boy, he has Lincoln Huff on, or he has, he's just lobbing these softball questions. What's your favorite color? Senator Rowden, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite ice cream?
What's your favorite place to get tire changed, eh?
Yep, I know. Yeah, that's the motive of transport for Scott for his show is softball questions, basically to the rhinos and corporatists and even to the Democrats. And, he wants to come off as, being objective on anyone he's dealing with. But it's so obvious to everyone who watches the show. By the way, the Missouri Freedom Initiative probably makes up about 800 of your subscribers, Scott Vaughn, out of your 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So you're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
So, we try to make you look popular, man. But there's a lot of my folks that I have to pay $5 a month to keep subscribing to your channel. So I can't afford to do this for too long without more dark money. So, Scott, keep it coming.
Oh, God.
So, yeah, we're just having fun, gang, And by the way, if someone has a better rumor to start, by the way, just like Scott Vaughn started a rumor about the grassroots taking dark money, I say, and he did it right on his show. So maybe we can start a rumor about Scott Vaughn on our show. And I see him up at the Capitol. He doesn't want to talk to me or anything.
Well, I got a rumor, and I think there's actually some legitimacy to it. I don't have all the proof, but Scott Vaughn paved the way for Parson to become governor because I was I was on staff for John Brunner when he ran in that race in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And Parson was running for governor at the time. He dropped back to lieutenant governor. Eric Greitens got elected, and we knew Greitens already had some, issues with the whole salon lady and, having her in her basement. We do know for a fact that Scott Fawn did pay her ex-husband's attorney $50,000 and maybe then some. And I think he's the one that started the rumors about Greitens having dark money. Then Greitens had to resign, which then bumped Parson into the governor's office. I think that was Fawn behind the whole thing. If you go back and follow the trails, I think Scott Fawn was behind that whole thing.
Okay. Well, interesting. Scott, I hope you have a chance to watch this sometime and comment on that. And by the way, I have offered myself up twice, but like a sacrificial lamb, to go on Scott Fawn's show, but he's never responded. So for whatever reason, he doesn't want to talk to me. I'm trying not to take it personally, but it feels kind of personal, at the same time. So just throwing it out there, Scott. I know you're going to lob hardball questions at me, and that's okay. I can take it. I have pretty thick skin. So, but also, too, it'd be really nice if I could be on a panel. That would be just cool. So, and I'm not running for politics, by the way. I'm not running for any office. I'm not going to. But I would sure like to be on a panel with some of those folks up in Jeff City. We could talk about priorities and not to mention basically the tricks that they play legislatively, to make sure that the people's legislation doesn't get through. What the people want, the constitutional stuff.
I'm just saying, when he puts on his Twitter feed that, I don't know, I'm just a hillbilly in Missouri. Don't believe it. I think he's behind a lot of some of the political maneuvering that happens.
Oh, sure.
Sure. Yeah.
I agree. And in fact, he's probably much more than that too. We hear rumors about the speakeasy and maybe some certain things going on in the speakeasy. Basically with leveraging politicians after they get them all drunk and get compromising pictures of them. I mean, we hear those rumors too, Scott. I'd love to talk about it on your show, actually. So please do invite me onto your show. Like I said, I'm throwing myself up here like a sacrificial lamb to come on your show. I'd love to talk to you about some of the stuff. And by the way, I'd sure like it to be live. And I will mute my phone. So when John Deal is calling, it won't interrupt the program. Okay? That's a promise. I promise you I'll do that. So, you got to respect the guy's time. I mean, his time is worth something. The last thing he needs is John Deal calling my phone in the middle of an interview.
No. Do you get a lot of phone calls from John Deal?
No, I don't, actually. I'm just hoping that Scott watches this sometime and he thinks, well, John Deal's contacting me. Maybe I should be interviewing him. So I'm just giving Scott extra reasons to consider me as a possible interviewee on his program. So, because I'm sure if I said, hey, Ron Paul calls me, that's not going to interest him. But if I say John Deal calls me, he'll be, oh, I got to get him on the show. And so, okay, we could joke about this, forever. I want to finish up with Silver and Gold, though, before we go to 727, because we're opening this up on 727, gang. That's what we're going to do. We've been accused of taking not just the Missouri Freedom Initiative. Trust me, our name didn't come up this way. What came up is a rumor that all the grassroots in Missouri, all the conservative grassroots, are taking Democrat dark money to shut down 727, which ultimately did pass. So we're going to get to that, but let's finish up on Silver and Gold. I'm going to ask everyone, if you have not called or emailed all the senators on the list, if you don't get the email, go right to our website. It's on the landing page right there. Please call and email those senators and, basically ask them to support the Silver and Gold bill. So that's all we can really do for right now, but I guarantee you, we will have more to do literally in about 2 or 3 days. We're going to have other stuff we'll need to work on for Silver and Gold. But that's what we need to do right now as we navigate what this madness we call the Jefferson City maze for legislation and legislators. So if anyone has any questions about that, throw that in. Also, let's see. Someone was commenting earlier on. Gosh darn it. There's been some good stuff here, and I'll find it again. But someone brought up something that we should talk about. Oh, bank failure. There was another bank failure. That's correct. I believe that happened yesterday. Guys, this is the reason for silver and gold is, not because of bank failures. Banks are failing because the dollar is failing. People are hurting. It's inflation and then the threat of a digital dollar. If we keep having these bank failures, they may speed up the plans for the CDBC right here in America. And what we do know through sources is within 18 months, they intend to fully implement central bank digital currency in Australia and Canada. Now, I have been able to get that information, and that's literally about 4 months old that information came out. It was about the beginning of the year. So it is by June of next year. They intend to have fully implemented central bank digital currencies in many Western nations. The two that I heard directly were Canada and Australia. So I don't know about the United States. It's anyone's guess. But this is part of the reason for doing silver and gold, having another transactional option and the free market wonderful solutions that do exist right now to use silver and gold. Guys, this isn't carrying around coins. Everyone, knows that you've got gold backs. You've got an ATM card. You could do with your UPMA account, to actually use it as transactional currency. Tons of options are out there, but you wouldn't know it because the banks don't go into states unless they have legal tender status for gold and silver. That's generally where a bullion bank will actually set up shop in your state. And trust me, bullion banks are chomping at the bit to come to Missouri. Everyone nationally is watching Missouri gold and silver, and the politicians that are interacting with this bill. They are being watched very closely, too, nationwide. So this is a big, big deal. It's more of a big deal than I think I can actually convey to you right now, but I happen to talk to some of those people. This is how I know this. I'm not making this stuff up. If the politicians in Jefferson City were really sharp, they would start making phone calls to silver and gold bullion banks and other companies that provide silver and gold solutions, because they should be talking with them and finding out how much they're looking forward to coming to Missouri, the fact that they're watching this very closely. And I think maybe before the end of the year, we'll have some of those concerns coming by to Jeff City to talk to some people. So it doesn't mean I know anything, because I know nothing. Isn't that right, Scott Vaughn? I know nothing, right, buddy?
I know nothing.
Nothing.
I know nothing.
Okay. All right. So silver and gold, and we'll hit it on the end of the broadcast here. Silver and gold pretty much covered. Let's call our senators. Once again, if you get the email, you have it all. If you don't get the email, go right to our website, mofree.org, landing page right there, the call to action right there. Names, telephone numbers, email addresses, it's all there. So let's give these people a shout out and let them know, basically we would very much like them to vote yes, and stop with the nonsense of no voting or voting no, because, basically they're trying to use silver and gold as leverage. Like I said, there's two camps. Those who voted no and were not present to vote are thinking the leverage route. So that's unfortunate. But okay, now we got that covered. We're going to
Don't forget to give Carla May a girl for voting yes.
You betcha. We have a Democrat senator that voted yes on gold and silver. And she's been interviewed, actually. Remember I was talking about the documentary crew being in Missouri? They were at the Capitol. And Carla May was one of the senators that they interviewed because she was a yes vote on SB 100 last year. And she explained that this has nothing to do with politics. This has to do with common sense. So, and I was there for her interview. I actually saw it. So, and once again, this won't be on television, gang, until October. But the fact is, she was interviewed, and she was talking about the common sense of silver and gold. And she also understands how they're overprinting the dollar, how that's hurting people in her district. And so this is a common sense move on her part. So, okay, so let's move on. And by the way, this is opening it wide open now. Let's talk about SB 727, the so-called school choice bill. It's actually a government choice. How that, because we haven't had a live stream since that went across, actually. And so, and I haven't talked about it in email for lack of time. But there are people, grassroots in Missouri, that are writing, and they're still digging into this bill. Even though it's been passed by the Senate, it's been passed by the House, it's sitting on the governor's desk right now waiting for a signature. And one of the things we can do is we can call the governor's office and ask him to veto. If he does veto, there's not enough votes actually to override the veto. So that's something that we as constituents, we as citizens, we as grassroots can involve ourselves in, is calling the governor's office. And here I said this without having access to his number very quickly and easily. I can get that, though, before the end of the show. So that's something that we should consider. But let's talk about this bill a little bit. And like I said, I need to open it wide open now. So I know a lot of it. Like, for instance, Gretchen knows a lot more about this bill than I do, as one example. But the fact of the matter is, it engorges DESE with power and with money. That's what it does. DESE, unfortunately, is a very serious problem for us because they're so dang woke. They're woke. They're working with the NEA. They're working with, others to bring woke education or curriculum to the Missouri public schools. This is something we should all be concerned with. And I think it's incumbent upon all of us to make sure that the legislators all know that they have on the highest order failed as representatives and senators of the state of Missouri by voting yes for this bill, particularly if they knew what it was all about. But it all comes down to money, doesn't it? It usually does, doesn't it? It always comes down to money. And what we have found out is their PACs are flush with cash from business interests that were pushing this bill. Now, we've talked about...
I know for a fact that Koenig's PAC, and we're not even done looking into it, but so far, this PAC received at least $90,000 from various school choice organizations. I mean, of course, this isn't the worst of the worst, but they all were given so much money in their PACs from, we're talking the American Federation for Children, Quality Schools Coalition, Herzog Foundation, Rex Sinkfield. Keep in mind that currently, when we talk about the EAOs, those that will then distribute the money, Herzog Foundation and Rex Sinkfield are currently 2 EAOs. And so when they receive money, what they are capable of doing is create a hedge fund so that they can earn interest and make money off of these EAOs. The education assistance, I forgot the last part, maybe organizations, I'm not sure. Yeah, that's something to keep in mind. This is a huge money-making scheme, not only for the Federation, American Federation for Children, which is Corey DeAngelis, but also for Herzog Foundation. And if you look at Herzog Foundation, they recently gave a huge sum of money to Kehoe, but also Rex Sinkfield has been a huge contributor. We've gone in and looked, and it's $10,000 here, $10,000 there, and it's all to all of these PACs, that coincide with our legislators that voted in favor of this. Because again, Rex Sinkfield and Herzog, among I think maybe there's 6 EAOs, and those are 2 of them. And like I said, when the money comes in, before they even release it, they can put some of it into an investment account and create a hedge fund.
Now, is Americans for Prosperity in that too, Catherine?
Yes, Americans for Prosperity is part of that. They're a little harder to dig into the money because they don't have a PAC. Absolutely, yes. They have been a huge part of it. Now, what money they stand to gain, I don't know, but I have seen copies of emails that they sent out to the legislators to encourage them to vote in favor of 727, and then it was in bold print saying, and this will be reflected on your 2024 score.
Okay. Hey, I hate to bring it up this way, but I think we need to. There's a lot of folks that are probably watching right now that don't know what a political PAC is, a political action committee, and what the rules are for donating to that versus just donating to their campaign. So, Catherine, would you mind kind of educating us just a little bit between the two differences between the ways to donate to someone who's running for office?
Right. Yeah. So a lot these senators, state reps, and some legislators, usually the state senators, have a PAC. And it's not always easy. I mean, this is something Kirby and I work on, is trying to figure out the names of their PACs. And they'll close one down and create a new one. And so that's what we try to follow is PACs, because the legislators or, senators, they'll say, oh, well, that wasn't contributed to me. That went to my PAC. We've learned the wording that you have to say, oh, it was contributed to their PAC, but that's still their money to use however they want.
Okay, gotcha. Well, thank you for that. I think that's kind of important. And I think we lost Sam. And Sam, I have my phone set on no notifications, so call back, and I will try. There we go. Here we go. Okay, Sam, give me a second here. Okay, Sam, I think you're back with us now.
Yeah, I lost a connection.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
But I'm good now.
Okay, good deal. Okay, it's Sam, of course. I keep forgetting to mention Sam. He is always with us, but he's with us through my phone. So he doesn't have an avatar. He's not in Gilded. So, and this is, of course, Sam Britton with Missouri Liberty Radio, the host of Off the Cuff, by the way. He is with us tonight as well. And, Sam, we're talking about SB 727 right now. We've kind of moved past the silver and gold thing. So,
right.
Do you have any thoughts on that you'd like to share?
Not really. I'm just taking in the information at this point. But this is one of them rabbit holes that will spend quite a while probably getting to the bottom of it, judging by what I've heard even before tonight.
Yeah, but it was pretty easy to find the rabbit hole with all the rabbit turds leading right to it on this bill.
There you go.
It was a terrible, terrible bill. And I've got a...
Well, the one thing...
Go ahead.
I was just going to say the one thing that kind of concerns me, and not only with this bill, but so many other things that's going on in the state legislature, is like the federal legislators. They're finding more and more and more that they can ignore their constituents, and it goes back to something I've said many, many times. This is going, well, first of all, this is going to embolden them, I think, and in future legislation, because it's kind of like, okay, what are they going to do about it? We got them hostage. They're forced to pay taxes to support us, whether they want to or not. And I've always said, and I'll still say, that as long as we have government with the ability to extract money out of our pockets at gunpoint, we're going to have this problem, because basically we're held hostage if you don't pay the taxes and they come and steal your stuff. So this is part of the problem. As long as we have this issue, it goes back to this. This is the same thing I brought up during the school bond thing, and I still bring it up, and that is the fact that short of a full-scale revolt in this country, which, the problem is we're so divided right now. You've got those of us out here that understand what's going on, and then you got the rest of the people out there that are low-information voters, and they like it that way. And so this is going to be something that's going to be a big, big problem in the future, I'm afraid.
I think you're right. And by the way, B. Hoffner is asking a question right now on Rumble. I want to know why the Missouri Freedom Caucus senators voted for SB 727. Catherine mentioned part of that before. And Catherine, go. You got this. Take it.
Yeah, I mean, the Freedom Caucus has received large donations from the Missouri, or from the American Freedom, what do they call themselves? The Corey DeAngelis American Federation for Children and Quality Schools Coalition. they've all received money from them as well, which is super frustrating. And that's something, Kirby and I kind of held back on initially when we were talking about following the money. Yeah, they listen to the money over the voices of people, which is why I think the Freedom Caucus voted in favor of this. Also, I don't know if you remember that when it passed in the Senate, the Democrats applauded Koenig because they made deals with the Democrats. There's some things. I have a whole binder. I have the whole thing printed. I wish I knew we were going to talk about this, or I'd bring out my binder. I have the whole darn thing printed and highlighted. Some of the things the Democrats got out of it. Teacher raises. They also got, it's called some sort of literacy program for children kindergarten through 5th grade, where it's a nonprofit organization. We don't know who yet, but that they can, a kindergarten through 5th grader can order free books from this organization. And it doesn't require any sort of parental consent. So you hear all these conservatives griping and complaining about, the transgender stuff and the porn stuff in the libraries, but this is open access for K through 5 to be able to order these books. And then this nonprofit organization, they can call them, they can call the family, and it's data mining. Ask them about the books. I don't know. It's a number of different things that they can ask them about. One of the things is that it says they can contact them through text, phone calls, emails in multiple languages, which right there and then, that's against our Constitution, because our Constitution says the language of Missouri.
English is the formal language.
Exactly. So they made deals with Democrats to get this passed. It's an unconstitutional omnibus bill. And when I just think about that, I'm like, why didn't they vote against it just for that alone? The fact that this is an unconstitutional omnibus bill that it's 163 freaking pages. Like I said, I wish I should have brought it out. I have it in the house, all printed out. But as far when you ask why did the Missouri Freedom Caucus vote in favor of this, they were also getting money from these organizations in favor of this school choice nonsense.
Yep, and that's the way I see it too. I think Catherine is 100% right in that, and I don't know what else to say, gang. There are some people in the Freedom Caucus that did take some PAC money. This wasn't into their, campaigns. This was into their PACs, which is a way to transfer money, basically to and fro from politician to politician, from corporation to politician. And in some cases, like, for instance, you look at the governor's PAC, he's still getting donations now, but he's not running for office. So what will he do with that money? That is paying back favors to other politicians that have done his bidding. This is the way politics works. And by the way, hopefully, Jill King had mentioned that my audio was low, and I did pipe it up a little bit. So I can pipe it up a little bit. Actually, I pipe it up just a little bit further so I can match the volume levels of everyone else that's on the stream.
Okay. I don't know if y'all were paying attention with Krista Finelli's virtual school bill, because there was a huge concern, rightfully so, amongst homeschoolers that based on the language in 727 that it said, according to state law, it put us under state law, which would then deal with our ability to have firearms in our home. And so Krista Finelli brought forth the bill. It was his virtual school bill. So they changed the language in it, and they just so that I'd have to go back and look at his bill, his House bill. They changed the language in it so that supposedly it would no longer put homeschoolers. It said according to such and such ordinance and such ordinance, that the homeschool is defined as such and such, and they decided that that was the fix to 727. But now we have two bills, 727 that has us under as homeschoolers based on state law, that makes us fall under state law, which has to do with a school, the way they've defined a homeschool as being like any other school, and you can't have firearms at a school. And then Christopher Nelly's bill supposedly tweaked that, so they figured that, okay, well that fixed the problem, but it didn't. Now we have two bills with two different definitions of homeschool. I'd have to go back and find Christopher Nelly's bill for you. I'm sorry, I don't have all that in front of me. But it doesn't. Now it's just even more confusing.
Yeah, 2287
I remember
was handled well, in my opinion.
The data collection and the surveillance, it's ungodly what they have in these bills. Anybody who signs up for this is going to be under surveillance. Children will be going to make parents do surveys. So much information is going to be going to DESE. There is no sense of choice in this way. They put out the enticing money so that these people think they can get choice, but they can't. First up, I think there's a very small amount of people that will actually be able to qualify for the program. And it's a redistribution of wealth because it's going to students with IEP plans, low income, lunch program, things like that. So your regular average struggling person, like so many, are not going to have any access to this program. It's a real big money maker.
Absolutely. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but you're absolutely right. And sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Okay, I'll come back. It'll come back to me.
Okay. In the meantime, Catherine, I got to hit some comments here on YouTube, and there's some people on YouTube right now that are very, very concerned that you may have raided, Plocker's liquor cabinet in Humidor for, appearing on the show this evening, and that was the way you got some of your tax money back. And
I promise I didn't. I raided my own liquor cabinet.
that comes from Gary Ride, by the way, who's giving you a hard time.
Oh, that's funny, Gary. God bless him.
Yep. And
a
lot of people.
Go
ahead.
Yeah.
Just want to say, Catherine, a lot of people have you and your family in their prayers. That's coming up in the comment section as well.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. We've got a long, hard road ahead of us, and yeah, I appreciate all the prayers. We really do. So, thank you.
Okay, Julie A on YouTube is asking, what does Sierpoy say, his constituents say about 735, SB 735? We don't have the answer for that. In fact, we're thinking about hiring a team of scientists to figure out what Sierpoy does with constituent communiques, because he doesn't listen to them ever on anything. So we think he, is an alternate reality. And, basically he just kind of left his constituents behind. He needs their votes every now and again, but as soon as he gets their votes, he just totally forgets about them. That's all we know about Sierpoy. Casey Rich is suggesting that I need to go to the speakeasy before I can get on Scott Fawn's show. And I hope that's not the case, because we have a lot of friends that show up on the show from time to time that get lobbed the hardball questions. I think it's if you don't go to the speakeasy and if you don't get compromised and have pictures of you, with a very attractive person of the opposite sex, in a compromising position, that's when you get the hardball questions. But you get the softball questions if you compromise yourself. I think that's, Scott, is that the way it goes?
Okay. Right, true.
Yes.
Okay, I remembered what I was going to say.
Go.
So we did have Andrew Koenig, on 93.3. You know, I on there from 4 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, and he came on with Stacy Shore to talk about 727. And I edited out the clip, but we have him on record saying that he homeschools and he is not planning to sign his children. He is not planning to sign up as an FPE, which is the family words are the lost. Yes, that he is not going to do it. I'm thinking if you're going to pass it, drink your own Kool-Aid.
Yeah. That's good advice. But I don't think he has any intention of drinking his own Kool-Aid ever. And also, one thing I'd like to point out, and by the way, the Missouri Freedom Initiative, and for all who's watching, including you, Scott Font, thank you for tuning in tonight. Please just give us a comment. Let us know you're here. We'd love to hear from you, man. We comment on your videos all the time until you turned off the comment section. So then we couldn't comment anymore. Scott, we're not turning off the comment section. We want you to chime in, say whatever you want, man. But I think at this point in time, I think we have to be careful. I mean, the Missouri Freedom Initiative does not endorse candidates, but of course we have our favorites. We have people we like. We have people we're going to vote for. But we don't officially endorse through our organization, and we certainly don't provide, support as an organization for a candidacy of any kind. One thing I want to point out, though, Andrew Koenig is running for treasurer, and there is someone else by the name of Lori Rook who is running for treasurer, and she is killing everybody in the polls. She is pulling ahead quickly. And
real quick,
sure.
I'm going to give a little plug. She was in studio on our show, yesterday. If you want to go back and watch our show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, she was on at the top of the hour for 2 segments. Definitely listen to her. She's got a lot of great ideas. She's very well educated. She deals with she talks a lot about, as an attorney, fiduciary responsibility to her clients. And when I asked her the question of what is the role of government, which I ask every candidate, she was spot on.
And, Catherine, what you may or may not know, hopefully this came up in the interview, is she is very supportive of silver and gold, and she definitely wants to explore the option of having a depository for the state of Missouri, much like Texas.
Yeah, she would actually like to see the depository. I think, what is it, 1% right now?
Well,
she would actually like to see that increase.
Yep. So she's very friendly to silver and gold. She's not just paying lip service to it. Actually, Andrew Koenig isn't even paying lip service to it. So he's not said anything about a depository, silver and gold. This is what the people of Missouri want. Gosh darn it, it's going into the Republican platform in the state of Missouri, probably on May 4th, by the way. Silver and gold is legal tender in the state of Missouri. So it is something that I think we need to keep an eye on. Basically, those who are interested in protecting Missourians from, I would say nothing more than a stagflation. It's actually inflation is what we're dealing with. Stagflation too, but also too with the threat of a digital dollar. Guys, we have the ability to get ahead of the 8 ball on this. We can actually do that. It's people that remember now the 2 camps. It's the camp saying, I need to leverage to get my crap legislation through that the WEF or someone else is paying me to do against gold and silver, because that's what the people want. They don't want my bill, but the people who pay for my campaign want my bill because they gave it to me. And so I have to find a way to leverage silver and gold to get my crap sandwich shoved down the throats of 6 million souls in the state of Missouri. Lori is not that. So I'm just going to throw that out there. Lori is not one of them.
Yeah, I agree. And Andrew Koenig, going to be honest, because he was running a grassroots campaign, really shot himself in the foot with 720.
He did.
And we don't like, I don't like Vivek Malik because he was appointed by Parson, and anybody appointed by Parson. And this is one thing that Lori Rook mentioned. She, I don't know if the word is applied, but when that position was open, that Parson gave to Malik, she applied for that. She was flat out told, well, you're an outsider, so we're not going to give to you. And I just thought, well, that's a really good thing, because that means Malik is in the inner circle of, Parson has his inner circle. He likes to keep close to him. And so, anyway, I'm just letting you know some of the things Lori Rook said. And I do think Andrew Koenig just really blew it with the grassroots with 720.
Yep. Okay.
He wasn't the only one who blew it.
Nope, you're right. And that's the thing. We'll be talking about this. And by the way, you might wonder, first of all, taking 3 weeks off from a live stream is unusual for us during the legislative session. I'm sorry, gang. There was just too much going on. And I also, too, I've spent a lot of time at the Capitol. By the way, I broke all my records. This year so far, I've been up to the Capitol 19 times so far this year. And I'm not done yet. But I don't know that we need any more knock and shocks, but I will publish when I'm going up. But I am going up Monday, for those of you who are interested. Daniel is back from Citizens for Sound Money. He's been gone for about 9 days. He is now officially back. And we're going to go up there on Monday and see what we can do to help the bill along, silver and gold. And Isaac, or Guitar Authority, is actually asking about whether or not we're going to talk about the One Health Lab in the budget, which is $76 million for a WHO.
Yes, we need to talk about that.
Yep. For a WHO building. And this comes down to, once again, this is all tied to that treaty that Joe Biden signed that has to do with, if there is another pandemic, that basically American sovereignty is surrendered and the United Nations has control of public policy having to do with the pandemic. Now, see, this is already done. That's happened.
That'll go real well.
And well, I understand that. I get that. But what we're seeing now...
The problem is it's already appropriated, about $72 million to this. It's already in our budget appropriations bill.
Yep. Yeah. So that's something that I'll be emailing about tomorrow as well. See if we can get something done about that. Because once again, gang, they're sliding. Like I said, the skids have been greased for anything having to do with the United Nations or the World Economic Forum. That's what we grassroots fight. We fight that stuff. We kill that stuff. Remember 1165 last year, Justin Hicks, trying to get a digital dollar or a CDBC legal in the state of Missouri, even before it's released by, of course, the Federal Reserve. In 20 states simultaneously, they had the same language. Well, this happens a lot. Like, for instance, 727, the school bill we're dealing with. About 20 states were dealing with that garbage at the same time we were. This is a concerted effort, and it's always in the red states. The blue states do this stuff by default. Go ahead.
And that is what they've done with school choice.
That's right.
In all the red states, and they've been pushing. It's all part of the revolution to take over the nation, and they're very well planned, carrying it out beautifully. But I think we can throw some wrenches into it.
Yep. And that's what we'll attempt to do. I want to say people are saying the audio is not up to snuff tonight, and I apologize. I didn't have time to get that done right. I hadn't had the gear set up to do this, and when Daniel's here, he uses this station here for his video conferences and stuff like that, so a lot of settings and things were a little bit off. I had to get them back to normal, and I'm still working on that. So I know some people are super loud and some people are super soft. And at the same time, I'm trying to read the comment section and basically hit your comments. So I apologize. Next week will be much better set up for the live stream. Once again, though, I think that's an important issue. I think that will go out. I will do another email tomorrow. I just didn't have time to get data out today. but we'll cover that. And actually, there's a lot of folks covering that, including the Shield Maidens, by the way. They're hitting on this one pretty big right now, and so is Bev Aline.
Sorry, Pat, but if I'm able to get, because I've been watching what the Shield Maidens are doing, and like I get pieces of it, but if I could have something, because I want to bring this up on our radio show, but I don't feel like I'm educated enough on this. Does that make sense? Regarding WHO and this called again health. I've looked into it. Okay, my point is, I don't mean to. This isn't me trying to plug the show, but I would, if you have information that is important to share, please let me know.
Okay.
Because my co-host Roger Jackson, awesome guy. But right now he's really focusing on this Senate races. And I would love to have people who can come on and talk about some things that are going on in our state legislature that people might not be aware of, but I need to be a little bit more informed about it. Or if somebody wants to come on and talk about it, I would totally appreciate it.
Yep. Yeah, I'll tell you what, Isaac's with us tonight if he has time, to actually hit us up with that tonight. But also, too, I'll include data on this tomorrow in the email.
Okay.
It may not be all inclusive, but I do want to say something really, really off track here, because it's something that is important to me, and it has nothing to do with what we're talking about right now, but it has to do with the state of Nebraska, that they actually were able to get rid of capital gains tax on silver and gold. And I want to let everyone know, although I'm not going to get into details, this is actually a legacy of Brenda Webb's. It's because of Brenda Webb that Nebraska was able to get rid of capital gains on silver and gold. And so the effects of that woman, she passed away, several months ago, but the effects that woman has had, not just in the state of Missouri, but on other states, is not lost on me. So I just wanted to throw that out there for those of you who knew Brenda Webb. And maybe another time we'll talk more in detail about how Brenda Webb was involved posthumously in actually removing capital gains tax on silver and gold in another state. We'll talk about that another time. Let's bring that up at the end of the year once we get our bill done or not done. And let's talk about, what's happened in other states. So the stuff with the World Health Organization and the WEF is stuff that every state is dealing with, but Missouri is one of the few states that has the grassroots, let's just say, intestinal fortitude to actually dig into this stuff. And Isaac is one of them. Shield Maidens is another. Of course, Catherine and Kirby with Rogue Politics, the Missouri Freedom Initiative. Guys, this is what makes Missouri different. This is why there's hope in Missouri. And also, I want to say one more thing. I've gotten a lot of communiques, particularly in the last 6 weeks. People who have emailed me, texted me, DM'd me, or if they had my phone number, called me and wanted to talk about how concerned they are because Missouri seems to be negatively in the news all the time. And I said to one of them, I'm not going to say any names who I talked to because there's been quite a few of them. But one of them I remember saying, and why shouldn't it be? We're draining the swamp. And the swamp always fights back. So we're going to get some negative press here. I mean, all the stuff that Plocker's been through. I mean, that's been national news, gang. And so, but that's what happens when you take down one of the big guys, the big guy. I don't want to say big guy, but when one of the big guys gets caught doing something wrong and it gets into the media, it's going to make Missouri look bad. They've got bad politicians there. Look at that. This Plocker guy apparently was double dipping on his expenses. Look at this guy. He was trying to get an $800,000 software purchase through without appropriations. He was wheeling and dealing, Yes, that's right. But the fact is, he got caught and he got exposed. You guys have the same things happening in your states but you're not catching and exposing them. That's why Missouri looks bad sometimes in the media. And that's because the grassroots are paying attention. So the reason you're seeing bad things about Missouri is because good things are happening. Believe it or not. I know it sounds counterintuitive. It sounds like, I may be on one of those prescription drugs. I'm not. I promise you, we will hear more bad from Missouri, in this next year. But it's because they're being exposed. That's why. And the reason why you're not hearing this in Wisconsin or in Idaho or anywhere else is because the grassroots are not exposing the bad players there. But I will tell you, the grassroots exposure to all the politicians in Jefferson City and the fact that they're showing up at the Capitol is scaring them. The evidence is, the rumor is now out that all the grassroots are on the take, guys. We're all taking, extreme amounts of Democrat dark money, and that's our motivation to actually expose rhinos and corporatists up in Jefferson City. That's the only reason to do it, right? Is money. No, that's what they do. That's projecting, as Catherine said earlier. Go ahead, Catherine.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for that dark money. Kirby and I got, I don't know, somebody said that we were taking dark money. We're like, where is it? We could sure use it.
Yeah. It would be nice, wouldn't it?
Unfortunately, we haven't done any podcasts for quite a while. Kirby's very busy and obvious reasons for me, but hoping maybe this summer we can get back into it. So anyway, just to let y'all know where we are. We're still digging into things. We just haven't had time to get together and create videos or podcasts.
Yep. Well, we miss you guys, just so you know. And Casey Rich says Plocker got away. No, he didn't. If you're watching all aspects of Plocker, he can't raise money anymore. That's why he's not running for lieutenant governor. He has enough money.
I saw this past quarter he only raised $75,000, which is very low.
$7,500, right?
Yeah.
Or $75?
Yep. $75,000, which is very low for Plocker.
Yep. So that's just not enough to run for lieutenant governor. Yep. So Plocker is damaged, and but I'm sure he's turning over a new leaf, and he's a new man. Let's see if he tries to kill silver and gold this year. Because O'Donnell may not have been acting alone. When Plocker gave it to O'Donnell, he may have said, "Make sure it stays in your committee for at least 10 weeks." We just don't know. We honestly just don't know. But at any rate, Plocker, anything bad you do that we get wind of will be exposed. And that's the same for any politician. So it's not like we're just, going after Plocker. We need to get rid of the corporatists and the rhinos. And by the way, Plocker, I have never called you a rhino. Never once, because I don't think you are. But I do think you're a corporatist. So that's my opinion.
We've got Patterson coming up.
Patterson.
Which I don't think is going to be any
Oh,
better.
God.
Yeah, we're going to have to keep a very close eye on Patterson.
Yep. So he's running for Secretary of State now, isn't he? Asked Casey Rich. That is correct. Plocker is running for Secretary of State now. So someone who is actually tied into the train company that was moving the illegals from Mexico into Texas, which would be Plocker, apparently wants to run our elections in the state of Missouri. So we're going to have to talk about that in great detail as soon as the legislative season is over. But also Parson was involved in those, and we're talking about not involved. It's not like Plocker put on his conductor hat and was driving trains to and fro Mexico and Texas. It's not that at all. But he's financially linked to the train company. That's what we're talking about. Follow the money, gang. That's what we do. We follow the money, just like Catherine and Kirby do. And so that's something that I think it's very important for us to keep that in mind, especially as we go into election season. The grassroots have been really active this year and last year, but we're getting bigger. And do you know why? If any politicians are, Scott Fawn, if you're watching, please bring me on and ask what's up with the grassroots and what we're doing with the dark money too. I'd love to talk about that. Since you started the rumor, Scott Fawn, in September of 2023, bring on the grassroots to talk about the liberal dark money instead of just, Scott, you're always welcome on our show. In fact, what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to reach out to Scott Faughn, and I'm going to make sure he's got a link for our next live stream, and we'll see if he'll join us. And we'll say we're doing a show in his honor.
Did you see his tweet?
I did not.
I think it was Gail called him out. Gail Griswold called him out for saying that the grassroots were funded by liberal dark money, and his response was, well, I don't remember saying that, but I say a lot of dumb things, so who knows?
Okay, gotcha. Well, I'll tell you what I will do is I'll put out a short so everyone can see where basically Scott Faughn started the rumor that anyone who was going against Plocker, because Plocker is not only just a good, wholesome man, but apparently he's extremely good looking, because Scott Faughn talks about this a lot. Scott,
there's a little bit of a bromance there.
Yeah, it may be a little more than a bromance. You know, you never know. And I'm just kind of curious.
Revolving door at the Marriott.
So they're at a hotel for, so, one thing leads to the other. They're, of course, having, oysters, before the interview, and then whatever happens after the interview happens. But, and I'm not accusing you of being gay, Scott Faughn, but I'm accusing you of acting kind of gay. And so, and yeah, I know that'll offend some people saying that's okay. It's okay to be gay. But I guess it's really not okay to keep talking about how attractive Plocker is. And so I would recommend, as someone who holds live streams just like you do, sir, that, like, for instance, I don't tell Caleb how attractive he is on our live streams. And so
well, he is attractive. I can say that.
yeah. Catherine can say that. She can get away with that. And so, but also too, sitting there and interviewing Plocker, looking him right in the eyes and talking about what an attractive man he is, is just kind of odd. We're just saying. We're not saying. We're just saying. And I think it's wonderful that you got yourself a really, really pretty, girlfriend now to throw everyone off the scent. And so, at any rate, I think that was probably a good idea politically. Okay, let's move on to other comments here. Let's see, and we covered Guitar Authority's comment. Julie says, as a homeschooler, I don't even use Mid-Continent Public Library anymore because it's trash. There's a lot of libraries that are participating in the, let's just say, woke book program. It's the Woke Book of the Month Club. That's what Dolly Parton's thing is, from what I understand. I don't know that to be a fact, by the way. I don't want everyone to get turned off by the Dolly Parton book program, but I have heard that woke books are sneaking into that program. Don't know for a fact, though. So someone can tell me whether or not that's happening, because when it was first announced, it sounded like an awesome deal. Free books for the kids, new books all the time. And
an awesome deal to the tune of $11 million to the taxpayers. We have that. Plus, in 727, we also have this literacy program for K through 5 that they can just pick and order books from whatever nonprofit organization, we don't know who yet, that they feel that they themselves are capable of reading. That's what's so weird in the language of it. Like,
yes,
yeah.
I remember when what was it? As Kirby and I were sitting down over a signal call or something, that was going through this stuff. I mean, it's not just one particular nonprofit either. It's any nonprofit that wants to provide books. I mean, it could be, it could be anything from your church group all the way up to what is that? Gays for Groomers.
Hey,
absolutely.
I got a question.
We don't know.
So Dolly Parton book program is paid for by the taxpayers, but she's getting all the credit for this book program. I'm not getting any credit with the taxes I pay at all.
Yeah, no, that was in our last budget. It was it's in the appropriations. You can find it. $11 million that they appropriated for this Dolly Parton book program.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Well, I honest to God think that that program, I've heard that it's starting to go south with the woke books that are coming in. It didn't start that way, but it's going that way now. I don't know that to be a fact. Can anyone confirm that? That's in the live stream right now? Nobody? Nobody's getting the Dolly Parton book program. I
Yeah,
encourage
no.
all of you to
I've
read.
seen
Come on,
advertisements
guys.
for it.
Someone should do it. Someone's got to take a hit for the team.
Yeah, they advertise it a lot on YouTube ads.
Gotcha.
I've seen that. I don't. I have all my customized ad things turned off because they don't need any more information they already have. And yeah, you get a lot of those.
Yep.
So can we stop being as far as our personal property taxes, can we stop having our money stolen for the libraries if $11 million is going to the Dolly Parton program? And then this literacy program that's in 727 is, I believe, they have to appropriate $5 million a year for that.
Okay. And actually, Kristen, I can't pronounce your last name, Haftarzik maybe, said something very similar. 5 million. Somebody has to. So yeah, we got to figure out what's going on with that program, because that's outside of the school system. And if taxpayers are paying for it, because you can sign up for this, it doesn't matter whether your kids are homeschooled or regular school. So it's not necessarily within the public school systems, my understanding, on this Dolly Parton book program. You just have to have kids at a certain age, and boom, you can actually sign up for this and get it for free. You don't even have to pay for shipping. So, and by the way, Missouri Liberty.
This is another way of data collection.
I'm sure.
You're absolutely right, because that's what they'll do is then, as part of it, is that they can then contact the family, ask questions regarding, I don't know what they're going to ask. Supposedly it's supposed to be about the book program, but you're absolutely right. It is a form of data collection.
They're going to have, with 727, the government, Jesse, is going to be so in your living room. It's unbelievable how they're going to be sitting at your kitchen table, actually, virtually through technology. This is a plan all along to bring everybody under this, omnibus, this bill, and control, the educational outcomes.
The Internet of Things.
Right.
It's so evil.
It is. It's evil. My theory is that due to COVID and so many families taking their kids out of the public school system, Jesse recognized, oh my gosh, we've lost control. And this is their way of regaining control over families that are no longer in the public school system.
That is definitely it. And that comes down from the World Economic Forum too, trust me. And they have papers out there, and have for a few years now, about trying to get privately educated people under some kind of a control grid. And it's so nefarious and horrible. And I just wish we could get people to understand how very bad this is. And that's why when you think that my representative, for instance, is a homeschool father, he was wholeheartedly for this bill. Okay?
And that's what a lot of them say. Like my state senator, he's like, well, I'm a homeschool dad. Okay. Now, my husband does get involved some with my son's homeschooling. And, I've got 3 kids I homeschooled. I'm down to my last one. So he's a scientist. So when it comes to the science part, he will get involved. But seriously, how many dads actually are actively involved in their child's homeschooling? Seriously, it's really more the mothers.
Although I have a son who does the homeschooling with his, but he's he's just different. So he homeschools his son. And I have a daughter who homeschools her kids, and I don't think dad is super involved, but I do have a son who homeschools, and his ex-wife doesn't. So,
okay, well, that's good. I'm just saying when they say, "Oh, I'm a homeschool dad," Me, I'm kind of like, okay, yeah, to what extent?
Well, that's true, but they should understand, especially if you've homeschooled. I homeschooled my kids. I remember joining HSLDA because I was terrified they were going to come to my door. Let me tell you, at 727, they don't even need to come to your door. They're already in your house with everything, the surveillance, the data collection, the surveys, everything. You aren't going to be able to get away from them and get free from them. And the camel's toe is under the tent, and they're going to come after people within a few years that are not in that program. Trust me. And they're going to make everybody.
No, I absolutely agree. And the problem is, like, we kept trying to point out to them West Virginia. It's like, here's an example of where they use the exact same language like 727 did to define a homeschool and an FPE. The only difference was homeschoolers aren't FPEs. But in West Virginia, they decided, well, the language is close enough. We'll put them all under the same umbrella, which then put them under the same control, like what Ardesi is for West Virginia.
Hey, I got a quick question. Go ahead, Caleb, if you had something.
Yeah, I was just gonna say too. Here's another factor in this too to think about. If this thing's signed, it wouldn't be a bad idea to find some group that'll sue about this, because one thing about that section of Missouri law is that none of it is severable.
Yep, that's a good point. And
in
actually,
other words,
that's something.
If any piece of that gets struck down, even just the bill title not being right for what it is, the entire thing gets struck down and removed.
Yep, and it would take down 2287 simultaneously as well, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and a lot of us homeschoolers have been talking about that it may require, I don't know, I don't know my legal stuff very well, but I don't know if it would require like a class action lawsuit where there's enough homeschoolers that could come together, because one homeschooler alone, I mean, I know I couldn't afford to take it to court, but if there were enough of us that could, that might be what we'd have to do.
Yeah, that would be, well, class action usually falls under if you're seeking a monetary return out of it. I don't know how well that would work if you're looking to cite something as unconstitutional. I feel like you need to find somebody or some group that can raise enough for the court fees and a lawyer to actually just go to the Supreme Court and sue over it, file a case.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
I hate to break from the subject here, but I'd like to run a poll, everyone, for all of you watching right now on socials, because this is just burning in my brain, and I can't get rid of this right now. How many of you think Scott Fawn finds Senator Lincoln Huff attractive as well? Now, I'm not sure that he's actually said this before on his program. And if anyone knows of him actually making eyes at Lincoln and telling him how attractive he is, to please let us know. But put a 1 in the comments section, just a simple, just number 1, and then enter. If you think that Scott Fawn also finds Senator Lincoln Huff attractive. Because honest to God, I mean, why is his love all in the House? Why can't he share some of his love with the Senate and have, like a General Assembly sandwich of some sort? So once again, a 1.
He kind of likes Caleb Rowden too.
Oh, Caleb Rowden. That's right. But he doesn't have as much mousse in his hair as Lincoln Huff does. So, he's okay. Gotcha. Kristen is saying 1. She thinks that Scott Fawn also has a thing for Lincoln. Lincoln the hair Huff. So there we go. Let's see. We should make it a Twitter poll. And I actually, honest to God, we probably should, and we should tag Scott in it as well, because Scott should be able to vote in this poll as well. I don't want to take that away from him.
I can't write the poll. I got a 7-day jail sentence in Twitter. So,
7 days in jail.
Yep.
Well, ever since Elon took over, I don't get jail time on Twitter anymore.
Yeah, well, I try to say things in a certain way so it dodges the algorithm, but it doesn't always work.
Yeah, understood.
Very seldom does it not work, I should say.
Yep. So, but at any rate, yeah, just throw that in there. We'll see what we could do on Twitter here and get Scott's attention. We'd like to have him on the show anyway. He started a rumor about the grassroots taking dark money, and all we're doing is talking about him talking about how attractive Dean Plocker is on his own show. We're not even starting a rumor here. That's actually a fact. He actually says this to him when he's on his show. But also, too, I want to say I'm very grateful that Scott Fawn has Caleb Rowden on his show, because Caleb Rowden, to me, doesn't seem like he's a conservative. But every time Caleb's on his show, Caleb spends the first 5 minutes of his time talking about how conservative he is and what a great Republican he is. And if he wasn't there to remind me of that constantly, all I would have is his vote record. His vote record, looks much like a Democrat's. But since
if
Caleb
I had a dime, I'm sorry, but if I had a dime for every rhino who claims they're a conservative and sickening.
Mm-hmm. Well, Gary Ride points out here that Caleb Rowden has far too much forehead before his hairline starts. So therefore, Scott Fawn may not find him as attractive. But at any rate, we're just throwing that out there. I mean, Scott Fawn, you're the only one who really knows. All we can do is guess and run polls on who you find attractive. So please do chime in, Scott. Let us know. Put in a comment in the video today. Let us know by having me on your show. Basically, we can joke around a little bit, and we can get to business, too, whatever you want to do. I have offered myself up a couple of times. I just never hear back from them. So, and that really discourages me, because with all this Democrat dark money that I have, I've got, I'd like a avenue to go talk about what I'm doing with all this Democrat dark money I'm receiving. So, and Scott Fawn is the one who started the rumor in the first place. All right, so enough about that. So, yeah, you guys don't have to put one in the comment section or anything. I kind of did that as a joke. And Scott, or did I, Scott Fawn? You never know. But Twitter will definitely be the great equalizer here. So he's on Twitter, so we'll go ahead and mention this on Twitter. Okay, gang. Let's see. I'm just opening it wide open right now. I'm going to look for comments that haven't been read yet. Is there anything that we haven't covered as of yet that you think we may need to cover?
Not really.
Okay.
Well, I have a question.
Sure.
How much political capital do you think was wasted on 727? And the gaslighting of the grassroots, and the way some of the representatives have been treating their constituents, and for instance, also some of the lobbyists have been just downright, unbelievably rude and out of line. Do you think a lot of capital has been spent?
In my opinion, I'm going to say a lot of capital's been spent for sure, because what we don't know is the last week before they voted in the House, there was enormous pressure being spent there. Political capital got spent like crazy the week running up to the vote on 727. However, a lot of these guys are going to pay for this with, basically their elected positions. This is my opinion, and by the way, we don't endorse or anything else like that, but you got to understand, from my point of view, Andrew Koenig doesn't have a shot at treasurer anymore. He gave that up to try and get this bill through, and I think he thought at the beginning it was a good thing, and that it would go through and it would be somewhat helpful. From a 12-page to 167-page document, it became a monstrosity with all kinds of horrors hidden between the lines. And that's what he ended up forwarding, and that's what's been visited on the people of Missouri. And a lot of people are very angry about this. The people didn't want this bill. They didn't want it, with a few exceptions. Americans for Prosperity wanted it. But we had a coalition of 27 grassroots organizations joined by a lot of Republican Central Committees saying, shut down this bill. This has never happened before. The cohesion of the grassroots certainly was there during the Second Amendment Preservation Act, but never together on the same piece of paper. This is new. This is different. And they didn't care. They're going to pay for this with their positions. In fact, I do think this is unfortunate, but it's going to happen. A lot of Republicans are going to lose to Democrats this year because of this. And that's my opinion. And it may not be 100% correct. Time will tell. I mean, we have primaries to get through even for the general, but I do think that a lot of people that thought their primaries would be simple and easy because they voted yes may not be so easy and simple to actually get through that primary as they originally thought. That is my opinion. But at the same time, the grassroots aren't going to let this go. There's a lot of grassroots that are upset. In fact, I'm not even going to go further than that, but I think the grassroots are looking at sunshining some things here because we have some questions about
Oh,
this.
absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think, sorry, I have hiccups again.
Yeah, that's okay.
I think you're absolutely right. I think it's likely to have cost him the election because, his election was, or his campaign, Koenig's was largely based on the grassroots and just paying attention to what's going on in the grassroots. They're no longer supporting Koenig. And I have, from what I've heard, is he has not even on Twitter or even at any Lincoln days, Koenig has not mentioned 727. I think at this point he wishes it would go away.
Yep. That was very costly for him. But I'll tell you what, I've got a cure for hiccups for you, Catherine, and that's a big teaspoon full of peanut butter. And literally just put it in your mouth and suck it. Actually, it's a home remedy. My mom used on us when we were kids. It always works. And so,
Try.
yeah. Let's see.
And here's another thing too, and that's Koenig shoved this thing on the Senate floor so fast when it came up.
Mm-hmm.
We had a couple of senators that tried to do something with the early understandings of the problems with it. And then you had some not so great actors there that started to shove other things on it too.
Yep.
That thing turned into a mess in the Senate, but you could probably throw an excuse on a few yes votes over there. Then once you get into the House and then all the really nitty gritty of that bill started coming out, there's no excuses in the House. None whatsoever.
Yep.
Yeah, my representative has on his candidate platform, one of his things that he's real interested in was school choice. That man should have known everything that was in that bill if he's really pushing for. No, somebody was helping push him. I have no doubt.
I'm actually.
Yeah, I feel sorry. I feel sorry for Maisie Christensen because all of her bills are being totally wiped off because she voted no.
Yep. Same thing with Bill Hardwick. Same thing with Holly Jones. They gave up all their legislation. That was the price they paid. Leadership said, I don't care what your constituents say. I'm telling you to vote yes. If you vote no, your legislation is dead this year. And that's literally how it went, guys.
Yeah, I noticed that Representative McGurl was supposedly going to be a no vote on that. And I asked him what happened. I thought you were going to be a no vote on 727. And he said, and I've heard this from Doyle Justice as well. So I think, they're kind of have their talking points where initially McGurl, I guess, had said that he would be a yes vote. And once he got into the bill, realized, okay, no, this is not a good bill. I mean, he, in fact, himself said this is a terrible bill. Then he voted yes on it. And guess whose bill came up right after 727? 2007, and right after Krista Finelli's bill, McGurl's bill. I don't remember what it was for, but it came up and it passed in the House. So you're absolutely right. They made deals to get their bills passed if they were to vote yes on 727.
Yeah, it's vote trading. And no one will ever admit it, because if someone admits to vote trading, you pretty much shouldn't ever vote for them. But that's a fact. But they do vote trading, and they never talk about it. So stuff like that happens in politics too, gang. But we expose that kind of stuff too by Catherine just bringing up that particular piece of information that may have seemed insignificant or esoteric, but it's actually relevant to how a vote changes, and then suddenly how bills are arranged from the calendars to the floor. So, and it gets complicated and technical at that point, but this is just further evidence. Scott Fawn, have me on your show. You know what? Casey Rich says I should be very careful about how I offer myself up to Scott Fawn. I never thought of it that way.
I was thinking that earlier, but I didn't say anything.
Yeah, I know. And so, Casey, you're right. So yeah, there has to be caveats and stuff like that. You know, it's like no hand holding, you know, no looking me right in the eyes and telling me I'm a powerful and attractive man or stuff like that. Yeah, so, you know, don't Gene Simmons me, you know, Scott Fawn. So, all right. Let's see. Nobody's legislation got through this year. Taking a knee for Plocker gets nowhere. When are they going to figure this out? The thing is, I don't think they will ever figure it out. But the dynamic changes with Patterson taking over as Speaker next year. I have heard, and I can't remember who told me this or why, but they may be holding another election for Speaker. And if that's true, and by the way, that is just an outright rumor right now. This is not official. That'd be very interesting if that were true, though. Very, very interesting. But, of course, if Jonathan Patterson loses his primary, you know, maybe there's a bigger rhino than him in his district that is running against him. You just never know. I mean, I don't know how you could get much bigger than that, though. I mean, honestly. But at any rate, I mean, everything changed with 727. The people are pissed, and the people are voters. Now they have to come out and campaign and convince us that they're for us and they're listening to us after the 727 debacle. And I don't think it's going to work so well for some of those folks in Jefferson City.
Oh, no. The ones down around here just being nasty to their constituents who have publicly disagreed. I mean, just outright nasty.
Yep.
So they feel entitled. They feel they're the ones in positions of power, and that they're not our servants. Let's put it that way.
Yep.
Honestly, I'm quite disappointed and actually kind of surprised by Ben Baker.
Yeah.
And his reactions. He disappointed me. He's usually really good on a lot of things, but he was absolutely a raging jerk.
He was attacking people on Twitter, true conservatives. You know, like even attacking is not the right way of putting it. That is not appropriate to say he was attacking, but he was definitely critical of anyone who was against the bill. Go ahead.
He definitely quote tweeted with attacks.
Okay. All right.
It wasn't just so.
Yep. So, but it is what it is, gang. We got a bad bill that went through. We're going to try and shut it down by calling the governor, and I've failed to find the governor's phone number, but I'll have it in my email tomorrow. If you're not on the email list for the Missouri Freedom Initiative, please consider doing so. Incredibly important, that email list during the legislative session. And for those who got upset, we've had this year so far, I think we've had a total of 5 people asked to be pulled off the email list because they were receiving too much email. But those are people that I don't even recognize their names. I don't think they were active at all with state politics. They just, were interested in it for a while. But guys, this is how we defend our state from enemies, foreign and domestic. WEF bills are coming. We're trying to shut them down. The water bills. Isaac has talked about this ad nauseum. I meant the Shield Maidens have talked about this too. there are resource bills out there right now to make it very easy for business concerns and interests to extract mineral and water wealth from the state of Missouri and export it out of the state. This is the kind of stuff we've been looking for, and Isaac caught a bunch of it at the beginning of this year. So these are being either shut down or changed or amended thanks to the Shield Maidens and the work that they've been doing. Now, Isaac is often, thought of as Missouri Freedom Initiative, but Isaac works with a lot of different grassroots organizations with his research that he does. And I'm very grateful because we can only do so many things at any given time. And I juggle a lot of balls, gang, so I really appreciate when you guys are patient with me for lack of live streams, sometimes, small emails with not a lot of information, because I'm also having to work a regular job while I'm doing all this stuff in Missouri, and it's tough. It is tough to juggle all that, and make enough time for Missouri, particularly for silver and gold and other things like 727, like we made a lot of time for in the last 2 months. But I want to thank everyone who is participating in this. This is how you liberate a state. You get involved. And then when politicians make bad decisions like they have on 727, you hold them accountable. That is how you keep your state free. In the federal stuff, look at that. It's not affecting us, apart from the open borders. Now, that's another issue altogether. I don't want to get into that tonight. But open borders is something the federal government does that affects every single state. But the states have the ability to deal with it. And there has to be a political appetite to deal with it. And sometimes it's hard to come by. Okay, final call for basically any questions or comments. JC Rich says, juggling balls. That might get on Fawn's show. Okay, gotcha. All right, so Casey Rich is right. Basically, we just don't know what Scott Fawn is all about, guys. We're trying to figure it out. We can only speculate because, he won't talk to me when I'm at the Capitol. He hasn't invited me to his show. We need to make sure that he feels very welcome on our show, though. So that way he could come on sometime and speak for himself. And we could joke around a little bit and all that fun stuff. And I think we can probably get along just fine. But he's got to be willing to take a joke or, once and again. I think, the thin skin up in Jefferson City is not serving this state well. I think people need thicker skin up there.
No, can I make just a shout out to my Christian County community?
Sure, go for
voted
it.
3-0 last week to refuse an application for a lithium battery storage facility in Ozark. They were well informed. The citizens were very active, and this is what it means to begin to win. And it was just fabulous. It was $100 million project that they wanted to bring in, and our county commissioners had they knew what they were doing. They were educated on the situation, and they voted 3-0. It was a great victory.
Yep, that's right. And I forgot about that. Thank you for mentioning that. But as always, gang, we're nearly at the 2-hour mark. I want to say to everyone who has spent some of their Saturday watching us, almost 2 hours of their time, thank you very much. And especially if you're participating in emailing, calling, or visiting the Capitol. In fact, if you're doing all three, you are definitely a superstar with superpowers. And it takes people like that to actually start moving a state and getting it back on course towards liberty and freedom. And yes, we have some bad people up in Jefferson City. We have good people up there too. One thing I'd like to remind you all, if you didn't know, is that Mike Moon, Senator Mike Moon, is actually having an event in Nixa, Missouri on the 11th of May. I will have the details for that literally out tomorrow in the email. Now, as you remember, we don't endorse candidates, okay? But this is literally something that I personally am voting for Mike Moon. I tell everyone how I vote. I mean, I'll show everyone how I vote. I don't care. But we don't endorse candidates. But Mike Moon is a hero. If you guys remember SB 49 last year, I don't want to go into that right now. But basically, it was the SAFE Act. It was to prevent the medical community from hacking up kids that felt they were transgender before they're 18 years old. And that was all Mike Moon. Now, of course, the grassroots pushed that bill along. He was the bill sponsor. He fought hard for it. Senator Eigel fought hard for that bill too, by the way, just so you guys know. And I think we have to give credit where credit is due in this case. And so at any rate, Mike Moon, of course, is running again for Senate because he's only served 4 years in the Senate. He's got another 4 he can serve if elected. He does have a primary opponent, and I'm pretty sure that basically the Republican Party, the establishment, basically doesn't like Mike Moon and will probably fund his opponent. So at any rate, I just thought I would throw that out there. More details on this event for May 11th. That's 2 weeks from now. So I'll put that in the email. Okay. If there's nothing else, gang, I think I'll go ahead and wrap her up. Okay. I think we've got pretty much everything covered for this week. I want to thank you again for your patience with me. I will be in Jeff City on Monday, and I will probably be up 1 or 2 more days this week. So I'm going back up to go, while Daniel was gone, I was working at customer sites, and I had to. But now that Daniel's back, we'll be working up in Jefferson City a lot. So I'm going to break my record even further this year. I'll bet you I'll be at probably nearly 30 visits to the Capitol before this session is over, and we only have 3 weeks left. That means 11 more visits, and it may even be that insane and that intense for me. So, but I will announce every trip. The only one I know of right now is Monday. This coming up Monday, 2 days from now, Daniel and I will be at the Capitol. All right. Well, thank you again for giving us your time, and as always, God bless all of you and all of your families with excellent health and with wisdom. Thanks again, gang. Take care.